This is the second half of our notes on scientific notation, and we're going to learn how to order scientific notation from least to greatest, and we're going to learn how to multiply numbers that are in scientific notation. So pay attention to this. It's not quite easy to do, but I know you can get it done. So step 1, you need to write each number in scientific notation. Notice this number was 64 10,000ths times 10 to the 8th power. So we had to move it, and it became 6. We had to move the decimal till it was behind the 6. So we moved it 3 spaces, and we moved in the negative direction. So it was 6 4/10 times 10 to the negative 3 times 10 to the 8th power. So that would be 6 4/10 times 10 to the 5th power, because 8 and negative 3 is 5, right? Okay. Now we had to move 312, and we had to move that 2 places till we got 3 1200ths. So it was times 10 squared times 10 squared. Okay, so that was 3 12/10 times 10 to the 4th power, because 10 squared and 10 squared would be 10 to the 4th. And finally, we had to move 58 thousandths and make it 5 8/10 times a negative 2. We had to move it 2 spaces in the negative direction, times 10 to the 7th power, which 10 to the negative 2 and 10 to the 7th equal 10 to the 5th. All right. So now we've got them all in scientific notation. We had to do some extra work, but we've got them all in scientific notation. Now it says order by the powers of 10. If the powers are the same, we order by the decimals. So the smallest power was 10 to the 4th power. So we put that one first. Then there was 10 to the 5th power, and there were 2 at 10 to the 5th power. So 5 8/10 is smaller than 6 4/10 since we're ordering least to greatest. So that's the order we put them in. Then we go right back and write the original numbers. So we wrote 312 times 10 squared, 58 thousandths times 10 to the 7th power, and 64 10,000ths times 10 to the 8th power. And that is the order that they're in from least to greatest. Okay? So you have to first write it in scientific notation. Second, order by the powers of 10. And third, write them back in their original numbers in order. Now we're going to look at multiplying. Oh, I see you didn't get to look at those notes, so I'll just hold these for a minute or so you can get those written down. Okay, now we're going to look at multiplying numbers in scientific notation. Okay, so in multiplying numbers in scientific notation, step 1 is to reorder the like terms. So let's look at this. 3 times 10 to the negative 7 times 9 times 10 to the 3rd power. So the like terms are 3 times 9 and 10 to the negative 7 times 10 to the 3rd. So 3 times 9 is 27, and 10 to the negative 7 times 10 to the 4th is 10 to the negative 4th. So then the next thing we have to do is write it in scientific notation. So we take this 27 and we had to move this 1 space in order to make it to a value between less than 10. And so it's 2 7/10 times 10 to the first power, because we had to move it one time, times 10 to the negative fourth power. Similar to what we did when we were doing the ordering. So that ends up to be 2 7/10 times 10 to the negative third power. I want you to turn over to page 64 now, and I want you to write, do page 212, 9 through 13. And then turn the video back on and I'll correct it with you. All right, so we're back. So let's review this. Page 212. In 9 through 9 and 10, they ask you to order these from least to greatest. And if you'll remember each of the steps, the first thing you have to do is make sure that these numbers are written in scientific notation. No, the first one, 16 times 10 to the 9, is not in scientific notation, because the first number in scientific notation cannot be any larger than any larger than 9 and any smaller than 1. So we had to move this one space, so it would be 1 6/10 times 10 to the first power times 10 to the 8th power, which would be 1 6/10 times 10 to the 10th power. Now this one is in scientific notation, 2 3/10 times 10 to the 12th power. So we just had to move that one over. And this one, we had to move 2 spaces in order to make it 6 5/10 times 10 to the negative 2, because we moved it 2 times 11. So it ended up to be 10 to the 11th power, 6 5/10 times 10 to the 9th power. When we ordered them, we followed what the powers were. So the 9 was first, 10 was second, and 12 was third. Then we went right back to our original numbers. So 65 thousandths times 10 to the 11th, 16 times 10 to the 9th power, and 2 3/10 times 10 to the 12th power. So this is the smallest to the greatest. And even though the numbers have changed here, remember we followed when they were all in scientific notation. All right, and number 10, we did something similar. And the answers ended up to be 3 7/10 times 10 to the negative 8, 253 times 10 to the negative 9, 12 9/10 times 10 to the negative 7. Now 11, 12, and 13 were about multiplication. So remember that we put the like terms together in order to multiply. And 5 times 10 to the 6 times 6 times 10 squared, 5 times 6, 10 to the 6 times 10 squared, equaled 30 times 10 to the 8th power. Okay? Then we had to convert it, of course, to scientific notation. So we moved this one space. So it was which was 10 to the first power, so we added that to 10 to the 8th and got 10 to the 9th, so it's 3.0 times 10 to the 9th, or 3 times 10 to the 9th power. This one we did 4 3/10 times 2 times 10 to the 3rd power times 10 to the 8th power, which ended up to be 8 6/10 times 10 to the 11th power. Number 13, we did 9 times 7 times 10 to the 3rd times 10 to the 8th. 9 times 7 is 63, so then we had to convert that, which it went from 11, and we had to move it one space, so it went to 12, 6 3/10 times 10 to the 12th power. If you have any questions about this, you can come see me tomorrow in class, where you'll be working on some more similar problems